just about telling a story.
My name is John Held. I live in San Francisco, California. I'm an art historian, artist, writer. I've been working on a painting for the past 2 years, started in 2010, where I normally do this type of hatchings, I call them, in my painting. But this, I wanted to make a diagram painting of my art historical influences. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And it won't be all artists, it'll be other people who influence me, you know, critics and writers and art movements and just anything I can think of to that's had some sort of impact on me over the years. So, I guess I'm going to start. I made some notes. And I'm going to use them just for spelling. Okay, the first guy I have to put up is Marcel Duchamp. I mean, he really influenced me more than anybody. One of the first art books I ever bought was a book on Marcel Duchamp when I was in high school. But the person who really got me interested in art in the mid-70s was Ray Johnson. I think I'm gonna... Ray Johnson, he went to Black Mountain College with a host of other people who I'll be naming shortly. But I have to mention one other guy, George Machunas. Who started the Fluxus Movement. And, you know, out of these, we'll put mail art here, since that's the dominant art movement I've been involved in, as well as Fluxus. And I guess we had to put Dada here. Fluxus, when it first came out, was known as a Neo-Dada art movement. I guess another big art movement that we should mention is Futurism. Let's put that over here. Which started in Italy, but spread also to the Soviet Union. And another guy we have to mention is Cage, John Cage. Also attended Black Mountain College. Cage, you know, developed one of the first happenings. So let's put another happening artist here, Alan Capra, who I interviewed about 1986. I also interviewed Cage, as a matter of fact, and I interviewed Machunas, Johnson. But I met Machunas as a result of a woman who I'll get to later on. Let's just put some more Fluxus people who I've been influenced by, including Dick Higgins, who came up with the name Intermedia. And my friend here in San Francisco, who used to be in Fluxus, Yoshi Wada. He used to be an assistant to George Machunas. And another guy who's been very helpful to me over the years John Hendricks. I'll put him up here. He's one of the main historians of Fluxus. And he's got a brother, Jeffrey, also involved in Fluxus. And the person who put me in touch with all these people is Jean Brown. And she was a collector of data and Fluxus. She was a librarian. I had read about her. So I went to visit her and she became my mentor. Soon after meeting Jean, I met another person who figured in Fluxus collection, and that's Barbara Moore. And she used to have a shop with John Hendricks called Backworks. I mean, there's been other, librarians that have helped me along the way. And one of them is Clive Philpott, who used to be at the Museum of Modern Art. Put him. And there's been other people like Judith Hofberg, another art librarian. And the current librarian at MoMA, Mylan Houston. And I've also dealt with Marcia Reed from the Getty. And all these people are kind of on the front line of incorporating this avant-garde into the mainstream, or at least bringing it to the consciousness of various scholars. Another person who's helped me a lot over the years is Paul Carlstrom, who used to be with the Archives of American Art. Let's see where we get him. And Paul just wrote a book about the curator Peter Sells, who's living here in San Francisco. He used to be the curator at MoMA, New York in the 70s, or in the 60s, excuse me. Another critic that I met along the way was Clement Greenberg. Let's see if we can fit him in. One of my favorite writers, Calvin Tompkins. I get some of my favorite artists now. One of them is Charles Burchfield, a watercolorist. Excellent watercolor. And then, I have to put Picasso. And Picabia. And throw in a Brancusi for good measure. Someone recently who I've become acquainted with is Anna Halpern. She's a dancer and a choreographer, and in a way she kind of started Fluxus because Lamont Young took the information he got from Anna Halpern in the West Coast, took it to Machunas on the East Coast. So let's see where we can fit in Anna. And I've always been influenced by theater. I went to Broadway when I was quite young, a lot with my parents, but I got more interested in radical groups like the Open Theater. And the Living Theater. And a lot of these people, these experimental theater companies, draw a lot of their inspiration from an earlier figure in modernism, Anton Artaud. And I've done a lot of archiving work over the years for other artists. One of those artist was M.C. Richards, who taught at Black Mountain College. And another dancer, Remy Charlotte, his papers I did. And let's see. And let's switch gears to the West Coast a little bit. And one of my very favorites is Wallace Berman. Who was a Los Angeles artist that spent time in San Francisco, and it's kind of an underground avant-garde figure. The Beatles put him on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's. And another Wally from the West Coast is Wally Hedrick. I just did a show on beat art and found him to be a very interesting artist, and he was married to Jay DeFeo, who did The Rose. And another artist in their circle was Bruce Conner. And someone who I just made the attention of recently, Fred Martin, who used to be the director of the Art Institute in San Francisco. And I'll switch gears a little bit. I'm really interested in the Russian pre-revolutionary avant-garde, who I came into contact with when I was researching who was using rubber stamps in art, what artists were using rubber stamps. And I came across the Russian futurists who were doing artist books with rubber stamps, and one of the persons involved with that was Olga Razanova. And along with Razanova was this guy, Alexei Krushanik, who's really one of my favorites because he, in later life, after his art days were over, he worked for the Russian State Library in the 20s and 30s, and it was his job to compile all these works or gather all these works for the Russian National Library that would have otherwise been lost. So let's see how we can fit him in. Alexei Krushanik. And probably the most well-known of the Russian futurists is the poet Mayakovsky. Big name. Let's see where I can fit him in. And another interest of mine, art movement wise, is the Gutai Group. And Gutai Group started in 1953 in Japan, and it featured a person who later I became friendly with, Shozo Shimamoto, through my activities in mail art. Shozo's still alive today. He's about 80 years old. And another one of my Japanese friends who I do a lot of mail art with is Ryosuke Kon. He's not Jewish. His name should be spelled K-O-A-N, but somebody gave him the name C-O-H-E-N. So a lot of people think he's a Japanese Jew, but he's not. Are there painters that I admire? Jackson Pollock. De Kooning. And another painter from Black Mountain College trained is Cy Twombly. And Rauschenberg was also there. And ceramic artist that was in Black Mountain was Peter Volkus. And Merce Cunningham was there as well with John Cage. I have a lot of Black Mountain College people just because I think it was a real important melting pot for artists in the 50s who later became interested in art beyond abstract expressionism. One of the San Francisco artists that went there was Ruth Asawa. And when I was young, there were several alternative art spaces that were pretty meaningful to me and helpful to me along the way. One of them was Franklin Furnace. Run by Martha Wilson. And at the same time, this is the mid-70s, I was in conversation with a alternate art space here called La Mamelle. run by Carl Loeffler, Nancy Frank, and Darlene Tong. A couple of other people of interest, especially in Fluxus, was Robert Watts. He was one of the first artists to do postage stamps. And Yves Klein, French artist, also interested in artist postage stamps, and his friend Armin, who was known for his rubber stamp usage. And I met him along the way, and I can't leave out someone like Matisse. And Cezanne. Van Gogh. And another West Coast clay artist that I'm fond of is Robert Aronson. Also a really interesting painter. And an old mail art friend of mine, Carlo Vittori, who's a painter as well as a mail artist. And he passed away in the 90s. Another deceased mail artist was David Cole. Antonio Vigo also. A deceased male artist. And his partner, Graciela Marx. They're from Argentina. And Clemente Padin. Let's see. From Uruguay. And one of my favorite mail art people, because he's an archivist, as I am, is Guy Blues. One of the mail artists that I feel closest to is Vittorio Baroni for his writing. And another mail art person that I've been in correspondence with for a number of years is Rue Jansen from Holland. And my friend Tim Mancusi. And some people that have written about mail art. Steve Perkins. Crackerjack Kid or Chuck Welch. And Mike Crane, who wrote Correspondence Art in 1984. And I should mention my friend Jeff Berner, who is in Fluxus. And another mail art / Fluxus person, AO. And one of my favorites, Nam, June, Pake, Fluxus artist specialized in video. Gotta mention Joseph Boys. And another important group that Black Mountain College came out of was the Bauhaus. Let's see where we can fit them in. Bauhaus in Germany, and then when the World War II came about, a lot of people came over here from the Bauhaus, some to start not start Black Mountain College, but teach at Black Mountain, including Joseph Albers. And Walter Gropius, who went to Harvard. And Anna Halpern and her husband Lawrence were trained under Gropius at Harvard. She mentioned Yoko Ono and John Lennon. And let's switch off to the West Coast a little bit. Friends of Wallace Berman and Bruce Conner, George Herms, who's a assemblage artist. And, you know, when I was young, Joseph Cornell was like a major hero of mine. Cornell was well known for his boxes. And then coming back even further, Kurt Schwitters, who was active in both collage and rubber stamps, and founded his own art movement called Mertz. And let's say, just some free associations here. Another Fluxus artist, George Brecht. And to go along with surrealism, I guess, is Andre Breton. And someone else who was at Black Mountain College with Cunningham and Cage was the principal dancer for them, Carolyn Brown. And some local people that have been influential to me. Tom Marioni, whose art salon I attend on a weekly basis. And while doing that, I would meet people like David Ireland, a conceptual artist who passed away a couple of years ago, and another friend, Paul Koss. And someone who I've had a friendship here, gallery dealer Paula Anglem. And a friend of mine who just passed away about a week ago, but he was very helpful to me over the years, the art dealer Stephen Lieber. And another mail art friend of mine, Al Ackerman, a writer. California artist Ed Ruscha. And another artist I've met, Kiki Smith. And Chuck Close. And these are some artists that I've met at Tom Marioni's beer drinking fest. And let's see, another male artist from the West Coast, Buster Cleveland. And I've got to put this guy down, Gustave Doré, just because I do so much collage with his work. A French artist. And another collector that's helped me over the years, Marvin Sackner, who lives in Florida. Another San Francisco artist, Jess. Collage artist. And one thing that I've been involved with when another field is zines, small magazines, artist publications. And in connection with that, my friend V. Vale. Who does research publications. And we have a mutual friend, Charles Gatewood, who's a photographer. And another guy, he was a science fiction illustrator and a video artist who I met when I was young, Ed M. Schweller. He went on to be the dean at the California Institute for the Arts. And another LA person, critic. I'm friendly with Peter Frank. Another mail art person that passed away, Robin Crozier from England. And there was a interesting Russian artist who worked with artist books. His name is Ilya Zad. And he moved from Russia to Paris, and he helped Duchamp put together his first boxes. And one person who, or Ray Johnson used to put me in touch with some people. One of the people he put, okay, it was Madeline Gins, who's married to the painter Arakawa. And I should mention, along with Shozo Shimamoto and Gutai, the person who started it, Yiro Yoshihara. Another painter who I'm indebted to, obviously, is Jasper Johns. I think I'll put him over here. And a local gallery here who's been kind enough to let me curate last couple of years. Evergold Gallery. And a historic California gallery, the Ferris Gallery. And I'm going to put up Semina which was an influential zine done by Wallace Berman. And there was another gallery in San Francisco, the Six, in the 50s, that showed DeFeo, Hedrick, Deborah Remington. So it's another historic San Francisco gallery. And one of the people who began modern art in this country, Stiglitz, Alfred Stiglitz. And another mail art person, Ulysses Carrion. A Mexican artist who lived in Holland for a long time, and I met him over there when I did a show at the Stempelplatz Gallery, which is my first show of rubber stamp art. And there's another art movement that we should probably pace up here, a situationism. And that was formed by Debord. And there was another artist, Oscar Jorn. Involved with that. Another Fluxus artist that I haven't mentioned yet, but who I admire very much, is Ben Vaudier. Sometimes just known as Ben. And another Fluxus artist, visual poet, Emmett Williams. Another painter who I admire, Mata, the Chilean painter. And some museums that have influenced me over the year. One is in Utica, New York, where I used to live, Munson William Proctor. MWP, Munson William Proctor. The Getty, who I've placed collections with in the past. And MoMA, New York. And another conceptual artist. I guess maybe we could put conceptual art as another field of interest. And along with conceptual art, my friend Stephen Kaltenbach from Sacramento. And I've been doing a lot of collaboration with another male artist, Mike DeCamp. And there's a Russian artist, Serge Segay, that I've done a lot of work with in the past. And my friend Buzz Blair from Arkansas. haven't mentioned Zaum art, which is a Russian visual poetry movement, and Mark Toby, the painter. So maybe that'll give you some idea of what's inside my head. Thank you.
Well, how's about telling a story